Hey guys, welcome back to Madera Farms. Today we're going to be talking about how to expand your in-home bakery. This is something that I get asked a lot of questions about, and I think it's a good topic to touch on because a lot of us start out at home. We are making bread for family, friends, and then it gets to a point where we either want to expand, make it into more of a business, or you're going to get sick of it. You decide it's not for you. So if you're in this season and you really want to learn and expand, this video is for you. Today I have a trial that I'm going to be doing here in just a moment. I got a commercial oven from a local bakery. So we're going to be testing that out with just these 4 loaves that I made yesterday. I just want to see what happens when we bake them compared to what I'm normally used to. And as we go through this process, I'm going to talk to you about different ways that you can grow your bakery. I know you might think that you need all the fanciest equipment to grow, you need all the right tools to grow, and I'm here to tell you just start where you are. So if you're wanting to grow your micro bakery or your in-home bakery in a way that isn't going to put you in debt, which I highly recommend, a smart move for you. Like, you don't want to obviously go into any sort of financial troubles. The whole point of this is probably to, one, bring someone home that is right now your main source of income, which is kind of our goal here. There's more to it, but yeah, the main goal is for Andrew to come home and work full-time here on the farm as well. So with that being said, I don't want to be spending a bunch of money on bakery items right now, since our goal is for him to come home, and obviously we have to be making enough for him to leave his job. So find things that are secondhand, find cheaper ways to do things. I know you see like the big ovens, you see all the things, because I do too, and part of me, wants to just go all in and buy all that stuff, but it's important to make sure you're sticking to your goals. So right now what I'm doing is I am just putting my dough onto parchment paper. This oven that I'm using it's a convection oven. So I've watched a few videos on how to cook sourdough in a convection oven. It's not the most popular way to do it. A lot of them are more of like a deck oven. And I've shopped around a little bit. This is just honestly like a steal. If we can get it to work, it would just make sense for the next step rather than spending a couple grand on an oven. So when you're thinking about expanding your bakery, start where you are. Is there a need? Is there a need in your community for another bakery? Is there a need where you're making the sourdough and people are wanting more of it? I'm sure there is. I mean, it's huge, right? So I wouldn't think you would have a problem, but you want to make sure that there's an actual need for it or want before you put all your eggs in that basket. Expanding your in-home bakery, there does come a few things that you want to make sure that you're doing when you expand. I would start being very resourceful right from the beginning. That's going to set the tone for the rest of your business. Being resourceful doesn't mean that you can't be successful. It just means that you are being smart with how you're allocating your resources. And at the beginning of any startup, that's very important. My parents are entrepreneurs, and I've learned a lot watching them do business. So I just like to reshape my dough a little bit here. I'm really nervous about putting these in that oven, if I'm being honest, because I have no idea what's going to happen. So we are going to score these, throw these in the oven, and then I have 20 more loaves that we need to form. Another thing that I would say when you are starting a micro bakery and you're trying to grow that micro bakery is Don't be afraid to reach out to others. I think we as new bakers think it's sort of like embarrassing or that nobody wants to help, and that's not true. There are a lot of bakers out there who are willing to give you advice or point you in the right direction. It doesn't have to be a sourdough baker. Other bakeries in your area could definitely help you with whatever it is that you are trying to achieve. But just starting out, you want to make sure that you are finding the customer. I have plenty of information on other videos about how to find your customers, but I think that's where you want to get started, is just making sure you're finding the customers that are going to suit whatever it is you're going for. If you are organic, trying to be more of like authentic, whatever it is that you're doing, just make sure that you're finding the right customers, because that's what's going to set you apart. If you're marketing to the wrong customer, obviously you're not going to make sales. So expanding your in-home bakery doesn't have to be all that challenging. You are going to have to do a few things when it comes to your stocking up on flour, water, all the things that you need to run this bakery. Find a good source of all the materials that you're going to need, because that is going to make your life easier. You're not going to be running to Costco or wherever it is that you're getting all your stuff every 10 minutes. Because you're going to be doing that. If you expand, you're going to need more flour. You're going to need more ingredients, because you're going to have to make more and more bread. Expanding to wholesale, it makes it a little easier because you can kind of barter with them. So if you are going to be selling your bread in another bakery, I do, and I think it's pretty smart, just take the price off of the bread and get flour. So they basically get like 3 loaves. I get a bag of flour. All right, let's go slide these in the new oven. My house is a disaster, so don't mind it. And the new oven is in the garage because we haven't committed to it yet. So I don't want to have to take off doors and all the things. So these loaves are literally just a test. I don't know if I should put the parchment paper in there. All right, I'm gonna go grab the next 2. Okay, so I set the timer for 30 minutes. I have no idea how this is going to bake at all. It could be a complete bust, but this oven is a steal. So if I can get it to work, I'm going to. So it's really hard to tell. I don't want to open the door again. I did clean all up here, but you can see like all of this really needs cleaned. It's pretty bad, but I did clean at the top, which is why I put them all at the top. It's an old oven, so there's just some dials here. I got it at 425. Yesterday I had it at 450 just when I was testing it, and it's not calibrated correctly because it was reading at like 515, and that's obviously not where I want it to be. And then this is just like an old school timer, which I kind of like. Honestly, I put this one at 430 because it's these 2 heat, like those, I don't know what you want to call them, coils or whatever, are these 2 buttons. Down here, this is a proofing oven, so you can see my shadow. This is a proofing oven, so you put water in there. You can let the dough sit in there to proof, which will be nice in the winter, but I don't know if you're supposed to put parchment paper in here. My fear was that it would stick because I don't have any like rice flour yet, so I'm just going to do this and see what happens. So we'll come back in a half an hour and see how it's going. When I'm talking about making it work, or working on a budget, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I am literally going to be trading bread for that oven if it works. And the good thing for me is that, yeah, it's a lot of time to make sourdough, but I'm already going to be doing it anyways. So instead of getting cash, I'm just going to be getting an oven. And at the end of the day, that is going to be more valuable to me. If I didn't do it this way, I would be spending $1,800 on a used oven, and I don't have the option to test it out. Like, they're letting me just use it for free and see if I like it. You don't get that option when you buy an oven. Okay, we're going to continue to talk about expanding your in-home bakery. Start to turn everything from cups to grams. The reason for that, and I have been totally against it. If you see any of my videos, I talk about how easy it is to measure with cups. But when it comes to other people helping, if I go down and I need someone to come in and take over, they need to be able to work easily, and it needs to be precise. Instead of using cups and whatnot, I am starting to work in grams, which is difficult for me. So I have changed my loaves to 850 grams per loaf. It's pretty close to 2 pounds. 2 pounds is what I was doing before. 850 grams gives me a little wiggle room, honestly, with my loaves. I don't want to cut short at the end. The thing you're going to have to do is figure out a schedule. It is really important that you work with your dough in a timely manner. I am trying to figure out a new schedule. This morning I was up at 5. I started those loaves, got them cold proofed, and then I started these. This is something that I am currently working, is making sure that my dough doesn't overproof, because I want to have the flexibility to go to a pool day like we did today with the kids. Things come up. I want to be able to enjoy my days without feeling like I have to be home working dough 24/7. It was my choice to start this bakery, so it's my choice when I get to work it, and sometimes that is a difficult call because you want to go have fun times with your friends, and you want your kids to go on play dates and do all the things. And when you start a business like this, that's not possible. You can't do it all. And I am learning that, not really the hard way, but I am trying to remember what fuels me and why I am doing this, because it's very easy to just blow it off. You are your own boss, so no one's going to tell you that you're doing it wrong or that you can't, speed things up a little bit. But my goal is to deliver great products, and I'm not going to compromise that. So I don't know. I think that's one of the things that I am struggling with, is especially in this season right now, it is so easy for me to try and cut corners so that we can do all of the fun family things. But then on baking day, when I pull loaves out of the oven and they're not perfect, it is a reflection of what I did at the beginning, when I rushed it, when I didn't put my full effort into it. I've talked to a lot of bakers who are saying like they're just over making sourdough. And if you're thinking about growing your in-home bakery, you're going to have days when you don't want to do it. You're going to have days when it's hard, or days when stuff doesn't turn out the way you want. And if that's your choice to start this bakery and to expand it, then on those hard days you have to continue to make the choice to continue to do the hard things, even when they don't turn out pretty, or even when sales aren't what you thought they would be. It's not always going to be good. There are weeks, I've had them, everyone has them, where you don't get an order. And that's kind of where my wholesale model came in, because I would have weeks that were so overwhelming. I was making 50 loaves of special orders, and it was booming. And then I would have weeks where I was doing 6. And I just got to a point where I was like, I want this to be a consistent thing. I don't want, you know, 1 week to be packed, 1 week to be slow. Like, I don't know what my workflow is going to be. And that makes it really hard. So I decided to start moving into a wholesale model. I still do retail. I have bread club members who get bread weekly. I have people who order off our website, obviously, but the wholesale model has been nice. You are guaranteed those, you're pretty much guaranteed those sales. I mean, unless something like happens and they tell you they don't want your bread anymore, you know, you're going to be doing weekly or bi-weekly drop-offs to this location, and that's going to be a good way to get, you know, yourself started and kind of expand. I love wholesale. I think that's more of my bread and butter, if I'm being honest, than retail. I find it more challenging to gain customers on my own. And it could just be that I'm new. It could be that, you know, there's a ton of other people out there doing awesome things, and it's hard for people to even see what's going on around them. Like, I'm sure there's people out there that love sourdough and just haven't found me yet, or I haven't found them. The next thing that I'm going to be expanding on, and this is something a lot of you are probably in the midst of, is going to farmers markets. Or maybe you already are going to farmers markets. You're ahead of me. I have not had the time to be able to really put the effort into going to a farmers market. I've been asked by multiple markets in my area to have a booth, and I would love to do it, but I am so busy with orders during the week that baking anymore sounds not fun to me. And that's just being honest. I need time with no sourdough. I do plan on doing a few markets come fall. I'm in the process of getting those finalized. Coffee is also a must. I'm in the process of getting those few markets finalized because I do think it would help with growth, and I think it's important to continue to push yourself, even if it's something that you don't really love. If I am being frank, sitting in a hot booth all day doesn't sound like the most amazing thing in the world to me. In my head, I'm like, I don't feel like waking up early on a Saturday, baking bread, and heading to a farmer's market. If I were to do these markets, I am going to bake on Friday night, and then I'm going to pack everything up Saturday morning and head over to the market. It's very busy, so I don't think I'd have a problem with sales. And I also think it's my own insecurities, I guess, that like I'm going to go there and be the only booth that doesn't have a sale. And I think that's a lot of people's insecurities. Like, you don't want to go to a farmer's market and be that booth, right? Nobody does. Okay, I think it's been about 10-ish minutes, and I think we should go check on the bread in that oven, because I just want to make sure like it's not catching fire or anything. All right, let's take a peek. Ooh, it looks good. This loaf here, I knew was going to be a problem. I was trying a different hydration level in it. So I know the two loaves, the one back there and then this one, are going to be flat. So that is definitely going to be a problem. But that looks pretty good. The one in the back looks pretty good too. So let's see. We do have about 10 minutes left. So I'm actually going to put it to like 20 minutes. We'll come back and check on them. So that is legitimately just me putting the bread in the oven. No extras needed at this point. I really just wanted to see what would happen with like an honest straight bake, because I didn't want to go in adding a bunch of water in there if it's not necessary. So I'm excited. I think it's going to work out for me. So as you expand your micro bakery, I want you to keep in mind there's other ways to make money besides just your bread. I haven't had much luck with adding in other sourdough baked goods. I did donuts for a hot minute. I had a few orders. It was nothing like the bread. I also just added some almond maple scones. They are so tasty. I had them taste tested and everyone said that they love them. So those just went on the menu yesterday. So I haven't had much luck with adding baked goods. What I have had luck with is offering a sourdough course or workshop. People love to do things that are out of their comfort zone in a safe space where they feel like they can mess up and it's not going to reflect poorly on themselves, if that makes any sense. So I had sourdough workshops that have been selling out. They honestly come into my kitchen and it's like you guys hanging out with me. Like we're just chatting. I'm showing them the ropes. They get to do all of the steps. So if you're in the Erie area and you want to join one of these workshops, I have one on June 29th. I have 2 spots left. That's a great way to expand your micro bakery without making more bread. You have to be thinking outside the box. Markets, obviously, farmers markets are a great way, going wholesale, going retail, doing all those things, maybe even having a roadside stand. Those are all the things that you commonly think of when you think of expanding your in-home bakery. What you're not thinking of, I don't think a lot of people are thinking of, are the add-ons. If you're comfortable and you have a community that supports you and you have a space, try a workshop. You will be honestly surprised with people in your area that want to come learn from you. And some people, I've had comments that say, aren't you afraid that people are going to come to your workshop, steal your recipes, and start doing what you're doing? And I think that's a very scarcity mindset. I think people who come to these workshops are coming to have a good time, to learn a new skill that they can take home and do something fun with their kids. Have you ever been to a painting with a twist or a pottery class with some friends? Like, you're not gonna go buy a wheel and start making pottery, or like the painting with a twist class. Like, you're gonna go there, you're gonna have a good time. You're not going to then become an artist. I mean, maybe you will, but it's not likely. And so when you have that mindset and you're afraid of putting yourself out there because you're afraid of someone taking your ideas or taking your business, it's a very scarcity mindset. And that is a scary place to be because you're only going to be working out of fear instead of out of abundance. And the difference with that is that when you have an abundance mindset and you welcome more and more people into your craft, they're going to share that with their friends and their family, and your business is going to grow. If you're afraid to invite people in and see what you're doing, you're not going to be able to grow. And I know that there are a lot of bakers out there who don't give out their recipes, and I personally agree with them. I think that if you work really hard on a recipe and you don't want to share that with anybody and that's your baby, then don't share it. But you can, however, take a recipe you find online that isn't your baby and use that for your workshop. And that's exactly what I do. The recipe that I use now is much different than the recipe I used when I first started. And the recipe I use for my workshop is the recipe that I used when I first started. So the people who are doing my sourdough course are getting a beginner's recipe. They're learning in cups and tablespoons. They're not learning in grams. They don't know anything about the percentage of hydration. We are keeping it very, very easy and simple because first of all, it's a beginner's sourdough course, and I don't want to overwhelm them as it's already an overwhelming thing to begin with. But I also don't want to undervalue my hard work. I've put in a lot of time and energy into perfecting my bulk recipe, and I'm sure you guys have too, or you're working on it, and you don't want to just willingly share that with everyone, and that's perfectly fine. I don't think anybody would disagree with you at all. People might get upset, and if they want it out, they will post it willingly for you to see and be able to use if you want. Don't be afraid to ask people for their recipes. I don't think people get mad when you ask, but just know that they might not be an account that gives out their recipe for whatever reason, and that's perfectly fine. It's a good business choice. Or they might be like me and have a easy at-home recipe that is similar to what they're using, but not their exact recipe. And that's, I think, where you get kind of the happy medium, is having resources for people who are interested in maybe going on this journey and opening their own micro bakery, but also keeping your hard work to yourself. Just think of that when you are starting to expand. You want to make good business decisions, and you don't want to just be willy-nilly giving away recipes or not trying new things like a workshop, because a workshop can be very, very, very good for your community, for your business, and you're not making more bread and packaging it out. Another way to expand your micro bakery without baking bread is creating some merchandise. And I'm going to do a shameless plug here, because I know you guys watch these videos and you support us and you like watching the videos. So we are doing our first pre-order. I love the shirts. They're a black on black shirt, like long sleeve. I'm a huge fan of long sleeve, even in the summer, like going to a bonfire. I love just having like a long sleeve and shorts on. So that's kind of why I did it, because that's what I like. And I did a poll on Instagram and a lot of people agreed. I'll put a link in the description if you want to pre-order. You'll just go to the merchandise tab and then put in your size and address in the notes when you order, and I will get that shipped out to you. Pre-orders are going to end June 30th. Just make sure to order before that. And those are ways that you can take those ideas, make them your own, and expand your in-home bakery without baking more bread. And I think that's a trick. I see people do all kinds of things. Think of your favorite company. Think of the best person that you follow on Instagram. What are they doing besides baked goods? Are they doing education? Are they doing stickers? Are they doing logo merch? What are they doing? And replicate that. My best tip is to just put it on Instagram. Put a poll and get your audience involved, get your customers involved in what you're selling, what you're making, and they will be happy to support you. I'm going to finish out these loaves, and then we got to go check on that bread again. Well, nothing's on fire, so that's a good sign. The bread is looking really good. So it has been in now for about 40 minutes. So I'm going to set it for a little longer, and it is not browning. So that is something we're going to have to work on. I don't know if that's because there's no humidity in there. Let's open it and just check on them. Let's feel them. Yeah, they're not getting crispy. So they're definitely baking good. Let's see. Okay, they're getting like funky. They're getting a little more brown here. Okay, they don't look great. They're splitting open in places. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn the oven up a little bit. I'm going to turn it to 450, and then we're going to leave it in here for another 15 minutes, and let's see what happens. Now we're going to talk about some legal things. If you are right now not a business, not an LLC, not a corporation, not anything, and you are making bread at home, you're perfectly fine. I'm not going to say like, if you're bootlegging bread, it's bad, blah, blah, blah. Every business starts out slowly, especially something like this. You probably started making bread for your friends and family, word got out, and then you just started making bread for people and they were giving you money in exchange for that bread. And you probably didn't even think at the time of licensing. You probably came across your mind like, am I allowed to do this in my house? It probably came on quicker than you had anticipated. And it happens to pretty much all bakers, I feel like. You start doing something, it catches on, and it is what it is. But if you're going to jump in, start getting all of your business things in order. Get an LLC, meet with an accountant, do all of those not so fun things. It's just going to set you up for success in the long run. You're going to be able to separate personal and business expenses, and that's going to help you keep track of making sure that your business is making money and you're just not pulling money into making bread and it's not making any money for you. As you continue to expand your micro bakery, I think it's important to remember that you started somewhere, and wherever that is that you started, whether that be in your home or if you were renting out a church space, just remember your humble beginnings, because that's going to carry you on those hard days. I have just had a few of those hard days, and I remember in my head I was saying like, was this worth it? Why am I even doing this? Like, I'm spending so much time making bread. I feel bad that my kids are, being watched by someone else while I'm doing this, or they're, playing independently, whatever it is. Those thoughts that come into your head, and they come into everybody's head, you're not alone. Those thoughts are going to creep in. And if you don't remind yourself that 5 months ago, all you wanted was to get a few sales, and now you're baking 70 loaves a week, you would have died to have 70 loaves 5 months ago. And you have to remember that. When you're starting out and you're starting to expand, it's going to become very easy for you to feel down because you're working so hard to expand your in-home bakery. And you're going to find days where you feel like you're less than, or you're going to find days where you feel like you're doing it for no reason. And just remember why you started doing it, why you wanted to expand, and how far you've come, because that is going to help you on those really hard days when, like today, it's 90 degrees out. We just got home from a pool party. We were having so much fun. We left because I knew bread was at home, and I knew I had to test out that oven because tomorrow I have a really large bake and it would be nice to use that oven. All those things were going in my head, and I felt bad and I felt guilty. It would be very easy for me to just say, forget it, we're going to stay here, we're going to forget about the bakery. I will tell the wholesaler something came up, make excuses for myself. I'm telling you, these thoughts are going to come into your head. But if you stop for a second and you say, 5 months ago, I would have stayed home for hours to bake 70 loaves of bread because this is what I wanted to do. We need to go home and we need to make the bread that we wanted to make 7 months ago, 5 months ago, whatever it is, however fast you're growing. That's the mindset you want to keep, and you want to stay humble in that mindset, because if you start to look at people on Instagram, and I do this all the time, there is a bakery that I am absolutely obsessed with their videos on YouTube. If you don't subscribe to them, please go do it, because they are so informational. You are going to learn so much. It's called Proofed. They are a sourdough bakery out of Arizona. They have multiple locations. They're killing it. Their scoring is absolutely out of this world. Everything they do is just beautiful. And I watch them and I'm like, I want to do that one day. Like, I want to have multiple locations. I want to be killing it at a market, all the things. And then I'm like, what am I even doing? Like, why am I even trying to put myself out there? And then I remember just a few months ago, I was making a few loaves a week. I didn't have any wholesale customers. I wasn't pursuing building out a new bakery. I was doing it all out of my oven. I didn't have any people signing up for workshops, all those things. And I'm like, okay, they started small too. They started in their garage, and just kept getting better and better. So I'm going to leave you with that. I think that you guys have so many inspirations coming your way, and I am just hoping that in this video you hear that whatever it is that you're pursuing, and since you're on this video, I'm assuming you're pursuing expanding your in-home micro bakery, that you're going to have to make some sacrifices. It's not going to come easy. You're going to have to, unfortunately, not do some things that you want to do, because if you're trying to build and you're trying to expand, that means you're going to have to spend time marketing, researching, pounding the pavement for new customers. And that's just how it's going to have to be. I didn't want to leave you guys hanging. So this bake didn't go great. And there's a few things that I noticed. There are hot spots in the oven. So you can tell that these two loaves were in very different spots of the oven. This one is a lot more done, like burnt almost. And then this one isn't quite as crispy. However, they're very hard. The bottoms got burnt. So, I don't know. Bread actually looks pretty. I don't hate the color. Even this one is dark, but I'm not mad about it. The bottom is my problem, is that it's burnt. So if I can figure out a way to alleviate that, I would be happy with adding a little more moisture and getting it perfect. But what I wanted to show you was the crumb is perfect. So the inside of the bread is baking exactly how I want it to. This is what we call like a smoky outside. And this is from not enough moisture in the oven. So it gets, I don't know if you can see it, it's not shiny at all. It's more smoky. And so once we add moisture in, these should be baking perfect. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I hope that you got something from this video, because we are all excited for you to show us all that you are doing. My last kind of thing that I want to leave you guys with is I am going to be going live on Sundays. Follow us on Instagram. We are going to be going live every Wednesday, and it's honestly just like me and my husband. He just like pops in and out. It's just fun, like we're chatting here in my kitchen. So I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your week. Thanks so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, friends.